Let's come back to Paris now, where there's a meeting today at Matignon between the French Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne and the heads of the political parties here in France. Environment issues are also on the agenda there, and our Clovis Casali is with me on set to talk a bit more about this. Clovis, what's this meeting all about?
Well, why are we talking about this? Because it's basically a repeat of what President Emmanuel Macron did a few weeks back in Seine-Saint-Denis outside of Paris when he invited, you remember, all the heads of the political parties here in France for a meeting that was supposed to last an afternoon. It lasted 12 hours. The idea was to talk about all kinds of issues and also for President Macron, bridge differences, win over opposition members in order to pass laws in Parliament, because Emmanuel Macron's party does not hold an absolute majority in Parliament. So this is basically a repeat, except that it's at Matignon, so hosted by Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne, and it's about the environmental planning, as we say here in France. Basically, talk about what kind of environmental issues can be put forward by the government in the coming months and also possibly be passed in Parliament. The last meeting I was mentioning in Saint-Denis with Emmanuel Macron, all the heads of political parties attended it. This time, the leader, or one of the leaders of France Unbowed, the far left or radical left party, the party of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, while Manuel Bompard, that leader, decided not to turn up. He said, this is yet another communications operation which won't produce any result. Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne has just said on Twitter, X, the network, she's just said that this is irresponsible and incoherent. And the left-wing leaders as a whole don't really seem convinced by this meeting or by the government's will to carry out real green measures. So let's take a listen to Marine Tondelier. She's the head of the Green Party here in France, and this is an interview of her just before the meeting.
If we don't save living creatures, if we don't ensure that our planet is livable, then it's pointless to talk about objectives regarding our institutions, our society, or world politics. Even if we don't agree, it won't mean a thing if we don't save the environment. I think the government realised how anachronistic and old-fashioned it was to forget the environment, so today is a catch-up session.
Clovis, do you know more about what the government actually has in mind when it comes to environmental policies, what it's considering?
So no announcements today, but next week, probably Monday, Emmanuel Macron is going to make a major announcement to unveil this roadmap of measures to come. But advisor of the Prime Minister, Elisabeth Borne, say that there are several possibilities. France first has to meet EU standards of a 55% decrease in carbon emissions by 2030, a 55% decrease compared to 1990. The goal, of course, is carbon neutrality by 2050. Ambitious project indeed. And then there's also the plan to increase the number of electric cars. For the time being, in France, it is believed that there's only 1% of electric cars when you look at the total number of cars, not just those being sold, but also the total numbers of cars in the country. So how is he going to do that? Go from 1% to a target of 15% of electric cars by 2030? Well, with financial incentives, possibly tax breaks, that's what they usually do.
And the opposition wants even stronger measures than that.
Especially the left wing. Then the opposition as a whole are not that united. For instance, the right-wing parties say environmental is important, environmental issues are important, but what they really want, the right wing, they want a conference on energy prices, because of course, here in France, like in the rest of the world, energy, gas, heating, all these electric bills, prices are soaring, going up, and that's why the right wing wants that to be really the focus. And then you've got the Green Party, of course, who says we want decisive measures, strong measures, because the planet is in danger and we need radical measures undertaken. And then you've got other parties, notably the communists, saying what we really want is lower prices of petrol and other energies deemed clean.
So how does all of that work?
It's tricky. How do you do that? How do you lower living costs but also protect the environment? It's not an easy balance unless, some experts say, the government manages to really invest massively in renewable energies, green energies, this in order for the public not to bear the cost. And that's why you've got many voices in France basically saying we need a strong leader, someone like Macron to really embody, to carry a strong plan to reform the country, to carry out ambitious green policies. You need someone with the power of Emmanuel Macron, someone who will give the direction, convince the French people that they're not going to be penalised by all of these measures, but that it's actually on the long term and even on the medium term, on the medium run, win from this situation with greener energy.